Yeah, from the introduction that we gave in the microeconomics, last time we said basically microeconomics is about the forces of demand and the forces of supply, pulling the producers and the consumers together so that they can meet at the market. And when they meet at the market, they are meeting at the market for transactions. Just that. That science that tries to bring together, right? The consumers, the producers on the other end, they are meeting at the market, right? For transactions, isn't it?
Yes.
Because the producers don't go direct to sell to customers, and the customers, consumers may not go direct to the producers. They have to meet somewhere, and this meeting area is called the market. And now there are some forces that should push these people together. The producers are pulled by the forces of supply, and the consumers by the forces of demand. And of which in the previous conversation, we spent most of our time analyzing these forces. We talked about the forces of demand. We defined what demand is. We looked at factors affecting demand. We explored the law of demand and showed how to depict that relationship graphically. Similarly, when it comes to the law of supply, it was explored. We looked at the factors affecting supply, and we also had time to explore the relationship that exists between the quantity supplied, and the price. And then, having explored this, then we came to what we call equilibrium, market equilibrium, and we said market equilibrium. This is just a recap. We said this is a situation or a condition where demand equals supply. That is to say, the quantity supply equals the quantity supply demanded. And at that point, we say the markets are cleared. So we had that conversation previously. Now, having looked at this, 1, 2, we need to now look at this element, consumer behavior, so that number 4, we can look at producer behavior, and we will conclude microeconomics by looking at the markets. So we have already talked about 1 and 2. Now I want us to move to the other chapter, where we're looking at consumer behavior. We need to study the behavior of consumers in real depth. How do these customers or consumers behave? What really guides them in the way how they make decisions? What is the decision-making process? And then we'll cross over and look at the producers as well. We'll look at their behavior, the factors that affect their decision-making process, and some underpinning philosophies. Then we'll have time to look at the markets. Basically, that will be the last section of the conversations. Okay? Any question?
No questions yet.
So now let's start with the consumers. You may be aware that you, as a cooperative, you want to get the maximum level of satisfaction on whichever commodity or from the value of any economic resource that you have. When you have an economic resource, you want to obtain some value from the economic resource in question. So since you want to obtain some value from the economic resource, so what you do at that point, at every single point, you want to make sure that when you are using your resources, your level of satisfaction is actually optimized or maximized. Now, satisfaction in economics, this one is technically known as utility. This is utility, right? So when we say utility, please, from now onwards, utility is same as satisfaction, but I will use utility several because that's the one that we use usually in economics. So just utility referring to the level of satisfaction. So we explain the science of consumer preferences and satisfaction or utility, if you may like, and also try a little bit to explain about the underpinning assumptions, that are made when you are doing this consumer behavioral sciences. So now let's look at consumer preferences. Number one, if consumers are given a bundle of goods, right? They are given a bundle of goods. Let's call these goods good X and good Y. You'd find that a certain consumer will get more satisfaction by consuming X than consuming Y. Another one will get more satisfaction by consuming Y as compared to consuming X. Then, if one gets satisfaction by consuming X instead of consuming Y, then at that point we say that X is preferred to what? Is preferred to Y. Get what I mean, eh? If Y
Yes.
it gives much or higher level of utility to this individual, we shall say Y is preferred to X. Y is preferred to X. So that's the message. Okay, these are basically bundles. Now, however, at some point, you're going to realize that some individuals could be indifferent. Now, what do we mean by indifferent to someone who cares not? Meaning they receive the same level of satisfaction, whether they consume bundle X or bundle Y. So in short, they are indifferent. When you say they are indifferent, it means you can give either of the bundles. They will still get the same level of satisfaction. You get what I mean? Eh? You can either give them X quantities or you could give them Y quantities. They could be fine. So these are individuals. If you could maybe practically pick these maybe as fruits. Let's say these are fruits. X for mangoes. You're following, right? X for mangoes and Y for example, apples. When when the person is indifferent between bundle X and Y, it means that getting 3 units of mangoes and 3 units of bundles, this person does not care. They don't mind. They can get any of the two. You get what I mean? I'm not really saying all of them at once. We're saying we are making choices here. We have to choose. You remember the concept of scarcity that was established a long time ago. So this person can either choose apples or they can choose mangoes. They are indifferent. This is what that means. Get what I mean, eh? That is when somebody is indifferent. But if someone is not indifferent, they prefer X or Y, they would say, okay, I want 3 of mangoes. Or if they have to make a choice, they say, okay, give me 2 mangoes and only one apple. What does that mean? That is communicating to you that X is preferred to Y. Yeah, and vice versa. So this is the message we are sending across. Obviously, you have understood the issue of the preferences, right? Yeah, we are good with the preferences. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
We cross over now. We want to talk utility itself. Now, economists use the term utility to describe the satisfaction or pleasure that is derived from the consumption of a good or a service. Right? That satisfaction or the pleasure that you derive from consuming a good or a service is what we call utility. So in other words, utility is basically the power of the product to satisfy human wants. So the power of the product that is a good or a service to satisfy human wants is what you call utility. So, right? So this is very, very important. But we may wish now to explore the concepts and ask ourselves a question. Do we think that utility and usefulness are synonyms? Okay. For example, you have two individuals that always derive equal satisfaction from consuming the same level of the product. Is that possible? Now, when you start defining these concepts, you learn the following. Utility and usefulness are not synonyms, meaning you can't use the words interchangeably. Yeah. Usefulness is basically product centric. Utility is consumer centric. You've gotten the main differences. I repeat, usefulness is centered on the project, on the product that is a good or a service. Utility is centered on the consumer. Basically, the level of satisfaction that a consumer derives from. Right. Now, there are measuring this level of satisfaction. We want to measure the level of what bundle, of the products give us, what bundle gives us a lot of, higher level of satisfaction. That's a question. That can only be done if we are able to measure. Now, there are three theories that are used in the measurements of utility. All right? There are two theories that are followed. You need to pay attention to this. There are two approaches that are used in the process of measuring this level of utility, this level of satisfaction. And in your exam, the examiner may want to examine you on both, the first one and the second one. In this conversation, I will explore and explain to you only one. And the concept I am communicating to you is the use of the theory of cardinal utility. So cardinal utility theory is the first theory that we want to look at. Get it? Cardinal utility. Then the other one is ordinal utility. So there is cardinal approach and the ordinal approach. The ordinal approach is what we're going to look at a bit later, but the cardinal approach is what we need to speak to right now. We need to speak to cardinal approach. Any questions? Are we good? Are there any questions? People have questions? Oh, no questions, sir. People are following. Are the people seeing the screen? Can they hear me clear?
Yes, I can hear you.
No,
yes,
thank
sir.
you. Now, according to the cardinal utility theory, utility is measured by arbitrary units of measurements called utils. So, for example, we may say you are consuming orange given some certain amounts, or maybe bananas given maybe it gives you 8 utils, like that's the level of satisfaction. What is the message? Let me summarize and simplify what it's saying. Under cardinal utility, we are saying that the utility level of satisfaction can be measured using numbers. You get what I mean, eh? For example, maybe you consume, let's say, 1 banana, it gives you how many utils? Maybe it gives you satisfaction to the level of 2 UTILs. And UTILs have units, all right? When you take the second banana, you should get 4 UTILs. Are you following that? When you get 3 bananas, then you could get 6, maybe 6 UTILs, something like that, right? You know, in short, we are saying that utility can be measured using numbers. That's what we're saying. That's a key message to take home from cardinal utility. Utility can be measured quantitative. Okay. Now, for this theory to hold, remember, in economics, we do a lot of modeling. And a model is one way of organizing thoughts around theory. One fundamental way of organizing thoughts around theory is called what? It's called a model. And we explain these theories. These theories are there to simplify the complicated world around us. The world around us is quite complicated, but theories are there to summarize and sum up all these complexities of this world and just try to simplify. Because we are simplifying the complex world, then there should be some assumptions that have to be to hold for each theory to work. And the following are the assumptions that have to hold for cardinal utility theory to hold. Did you get that one? Let me go over this. For cardinal utility theory to hold, you need 2 assumptions, right? There are 2 major assumptions, and these include the following. There are assumptions. They're not really 2. It could be 5, 6 assumptions. Let me start with the first one: the rationality of consumers. Rationality of consumers. You know, now when you say consumers are rational, what is it that you are communicating to us? The objective of the consumers, we know that is to maximize, their own utility, right? Consumers want to maximize their level of satisfaction given the limited budget or income, or given the scarce resources, right? So now we know that in order for one to maximize their level of utility or their level of satisfaction, then they have to be rational, right? So that's what rationality communicates. Basically, it's about maximizing the level of satisfaction given the limited budget, given the limited income, or given the scarce resources. So we assume that is the assumption. We assume that whenever you're given time, you always want to maximize your satisfaction at each given point. From your limited income, you have your 100 kwacha. You want to get the best from 100 kwacha, yeah? You have whatever amounts you get, you would always want to get the best from that amount you have. Always, that is the assumption. The second assumption, utility is cardinally measured. That is to say, the utility or satisfaction of each commodity is measured quantitatively, right? You can measure utility using numbers. That is when this theory can hold. And there is constant marginal utility of money. This is what we assume, which is additional level of satisfaction that is obtained, from the expenditure of each unit of money is constant. It doesn't change. And we also look at the assumption of diminishing marginal utility. And with this one, we mean that the level of satisfaction, reduces as you keep on increasing on the consumption of each commodity. Okay? Let's say, for example, I think let me just pick an example that you could easily relate. How many mangoes do you have to consume before you stop eating mangoes? Can you consume all the mangoes in the world? Really? It's not possible, yeah? Even if we remove the limitations whatsoever, you can just consume the mangoes up to a certain point, isn't it? You're not getting this one. Let me try to explain it in this way. If we give you mangoes, let's say you have 20 mangoes. 20 mangoes, right? What will happen is this is what this concept is explaining, is meaning diminishing marginal utility. Before you even start consuming leaves, you'll be salivating, yeah? You'll be excited. I want to consume mangoes. You know that stuff. Before you can even have that thing, your level of, you just really want to keep on consuming this stuff, and your mind is just up there. You are thinking, I'm going to enjoy today, right? That is what you think. You think you're going to enjoy, and so you're excited about it. Okay? So now this is what happens. You're going to pick the first mango, one, and you consume, right? The first mango being the first one, obviously, it will be so exciting to you to consume that first mango, right? You'll be very excited. You're very happy about that mango. You will be like, oh my God, oh, this mango is nice. You want to get another one, isn't it? You want to repeat. But the question of the day is, why do you want to repeat? Why do you want to repeat this mango? Hello? Why do you want to repeat taking the mango? Because if you are not satisfied, isn't it? Okay. So you could go on to the second mango. Okay. Maybe up to the third one, right? Even the third one, if you even finish it without, right? Because what will happen now is that the first one will add more satisfaction, more utility than the second one. That's what I mean. The third one is that thing whereby you are eating, but that taste is no longer tasting as the very first mango. You get what I mean, eh? Like, I don't know if you're getting what I mean. As you go on, that excitement, that edge of keeping on doing that, and that keeps on reducing and reducing, because the additional level of satisfaction keeps on reducing at each and every point. Okay. Are you still there? Are we still connected? Can someone confirm we are still reduced? Okay. All right, this has been communicated. Marginal utility concept is what I communicate to you now. So total utility is that total level of satisfaction that consumers get from the product. Now, the marginal utility is the extra satisfaction a consumer realizes from an additional unit of the product. So when a consumer gets an additional unit of a product, there is that extra product, that extra level of satisfaction that they actually get. So it is that same extra level of satisfaction that we call marginal utility. Okay. All right. Now, having explained the concept of marginal utility, then we are okay. We need to now learn how to calculate marginal utility, isn't it? How do you calculate marginal utility? This is very important and very crucial. Marginal utility, you are given this table of total utility. it is actually total utility 2 minus total utility 1 divided by output 2 minus output 1. Okay, that's what you do. So for example, when the output is 0, there is 0 marginal utility, just put a dash. But at unit 1, total utility would what? 10, right? Minus the previous total utility 0 divided by output, which is Q. At this point, it's 1 minus 0, so that you could have 10 as your marginal utility. Okay? Again, when you go to the third unit, okay, let's go to the second one. What is it that we are going to have on the second? What is total utility on the second? It's 18, right? 18 minus 10, the previous one. Just this minus that. 18 minus 10 divided by 2 minus 1. That gives you 8, right? This is our marginal utility. Okay? When you go to the third unit, it will be the same stuff. It will be 24. 24 minus 18. 24 minus 18 minus 3 minus 2. Divided by 3 minus 2. Which will still be something giving us 6, right? Now observe what is happening. What is happening to marginal utility? As the units are increasing that you're consuming. Or you said you're doing something. Okay. So what you observe is that as the units are increasing that you're consuming, marginal utility is decreasing towards the negative, isn't it? Could pick, for example, again on 5, it is 30 minus 28 divided by 5 minus 4. This gives us 2. So the total utility is 2. Then at unit 6, it will be 30 minus 30 giving you 0. And 28 minus 30 on unit 7 gives us negative 2. So you've seen that as the units, praise God. Okay, so this is what you have. Are there any questions? Any questions? Have we known how to calculate the total marginal utility from total utility? So if you're given total utility curve like this, then you want to find the marginal utility. You've seen what to do, right? This is what you do for one commodity. This is specifically for one commodity. Okay, so the way how the questions are asked in an exam, they can just give you total utilities, then they don't give you marginal utility, right? Then they ask you to fill in the blank spaces and find marginal utility. You should be able to do that, okay? Or sometimes, if they want to be more interesting, they can give you marginal utility, then they don't give you the total utility. You get what I mean, eh? How can you find total utility if you don't have total utility? You're just given marginal utility now. You have to bear in mind that the previous one at unit 0, everything is 0. So even here you put 0. Then at unit number 1, the difference will be the same. Like unit 1, marginal utility and total utility will be equal. You have not gotten this, I'm too fast maybe. Let me repeat. At unit 1, total utility is always equal to marginal utility. Is that clear? They are equal to each other. Okay?
Okay.
Having said that, then from here we can start adding, marginal utilities to get total utility. So you say 10 plus 8 giving you what? 18. Are you following? Yes, sir, we are following. Then 18 plus 6, it is 24, right? (24 plus 4 is 28. 28 plus 2 is 30. 30 plus 0, 30. 30 minus 2 is 28. Have you seen that we have managed to recover the total utility function units? We have managed to find total utility, isn't it? If you are not given. So you need to know how to move back and forward, move forward and backwards. Are there any questions that you have to ask me? Tell me you have questions. You don't have any questions? That's fine. Then what we do in the next conversation then, we should explain, I think we'll pick it up from here, explaining, trying to explain the process, the concept of total utility and the marginal utility. Okay. We'll talk about marginal utility and total utility using when you're given two products. I think let's pick it up from here in the next class. Okay.